Okay. Have you been listening to the whole show, sir?
Well,
what are you laughing at?
Well, first of all, I'm loving some of these texts because, and I agree with you on so many levels when it comes to how cocky we are about hockey. And I think about the World Juniors, and when Canada doesn't win, how everybody is beside themselves crazy about what happened and why and all of those things. I I do want to know this also, listening earlier. I wonder if Mark Carney is a Rider fan, because if he is, and the Riders have someone thrown out of a game, he could just pick up the phone, make a quick call to Stuart Johnson and say, "Hey, now, come on, you want a playoff game? We need our guy back. Let's go."
That's interesting you say that, because the debate of Trump calling FIFA, which I don't know if you heard earlier, and I read a tweet yesterday that's like, are tarnishing our great game. And I'm like, FIFA is the most corrupt organization in the history of the world.
Too late.
There's no
too late.
Tarnishing what? Arash and I had a good little back and forth there. But then I was thinking, I'm like, if it was Canada in that situation and Mark Carney picks up the phone and calls FIFA, A, do they answer? And B, are they like, "Hey, aren't you that crazy guy that was dancing with his elbows up with his wife? That, like, we're not talking to you. You're blatant. You're just right out weird, man. That dance did enough for people to just hang up." But did you catch where it all started, Glenn? There's been some good debate. I was watching the Canada game in Whitefish, or maybe it's Columbia Falls, and it was great. And they were cheering for us. They're like, "No, I don't want Morocco to win. We want Canada." Perfect. The next day, I'm in there and I'm cheering for the Americans, which I've done before in hockey as well when they're taking on somebody else, and that's fine. And then I'm just online and I'm like, oh boy, I am so in the minority on people that can root for our neighbor against another team. I feel I'm so, but then I started asking these guys, because I curious on both fronts, what do you think about the Canadian Football League? And both times, love it. Love watching it. It's so cool. The movement, the size of the field. And these guys just go on and on and on and on about how they love watching our game. Then I ask, "Hey, do you ever think a team would work? I mean, we're close to the border here, all that." And then they look at me like my elbows are up and I'm a weirdo. They're like, "No." they're like, no, don't get crazy, because it's college football and it's the NFL, and then high school in a lot of pockets as well. So we got to, and they were like, fine. And I said, "Do you know how many teams are in the CFL?" They had no idea, but they could rattle a few off. At the end of the day, the point of the story, they love watching our game. I don't know about love. Maybe love's a strong word. They like watching our game when it's available to them, and they think it's absolutely cool.
Yeah, and there's lots of those Americans, absolutely. And there's a whole group of Americans that follow their guys, like whether it be a guy who played at USC or Alabama or wherever it is. So they're so entrenched in college football and love that sport. Like, there are millions of football fans in the States that love college football almost ahead of the NFL at times. And, they will follow their guys. Like, so when we bring up a guy from Washington State or Oregon or wherever, and he's playing for the Lions or the Riders, they are fully engaged in watching that guy. And so there's that too. And I'm with you, Barney. Like, I don't think... I think it's a weird time because of the leadership down there. But if you when I would spend time in Nashville with my son when he was in school down there, I mean, I almost bought a place down there. I had a couple of problems. One was I didn't have enough money, but I almost bought a place in Nashville, a little place that we could go, because I love the city so much. And that is a real sort of MAGA part of the United States, and a group that at the time were entrenched in thinking that Trump was the answer down there. But we stayed away from politics a lot, and some of the best people I've met on the planet live in Nashville, Tennessee. And I became sort of a Titans fan because I would go down to the tailgating and talk to football fans down there, all of which would love to talk about their favorite Canadian Football League team. And were asking me, when they found out I was in television, they were asking me, how do we get more games? How do we get a chance to watch more games? We think it is just a ton of fun, tons of action, which is why when I come up back to Canada and we're on shows like this and I'm talking about it and defending the excitement level of our game, and people go, oh, you're just cheerleading. You're cheerleading because you're involved and your paycheck depends on it and all of those things. And I'm going, no, I'm telling you about the ex-players that played in the NFL that I played with or have talked to, all of which have great respect for the level of athleticism in our game, the quality of the players, and definitely the quality of the excitement and that full motion and everything you talked about. So I think most people, Barney, are not cheering against the U.S. I think they're our partners. We've gone to war together. We will continue to defend each other. And I think they're just tired of, anytime you turn on the TV and see the leadership.
I know. But even when you go back, and I'm gonna disagree, because even when you go back to whether it's Sleepy Joe that was in before, or you can go back to Clinton, or who else was in there. I don't know. There's other guys. I was a little bit young for Reagan, but it's always been there's this inferiority complex of us to them, and I'm just like, how I don't get it. I was cheering for Mexico too. I'm like, I want Mexico to advance. So it's just wild, and how they are like, oh yeah, we're cheering for you guys. We don't want Morocco to win. Like, let's go Canada, right? Like, and then on the other side of it, I'm just like, oh my God, there's people back home that would just lose their minds if they had to cheer for the U.S.
The other thing, Barney, is that in our country, I think there are a lot of people. It's sort of we are so inclusive, Canadians, and trying to bring people in. And, I agree. We have a level of arrogance when it comes to some of our sports and things, but. When you look at the amount of people that were in downtown Vancouver cheering for, I don't know, one of the other countries, Sweden or whatever it was, whomever was playing, and there were thousands of people there from that country. And many of them, most of them, had not traveled in. They live here, so. I think our country has a lot of that. It's multicultural, and there's a lot of, when it comes to like an event like the World Cup, they cheer for their guys. Like if Italy was in it, and I bug my Italian friends here that, where are they? Like,
they wouldn't like that. They don't Italy. Like that. They're a proud soccer nation.
Yes, they are, and they are not happy with this. But if they were here, downtown Vancouver would have been, honestly, thousands and thousands of people cheering for Italy. So I don't know. I think it was a cool event to bring people together, and there were no incidents really, which is outstanding. People came together. I think it's great.
I love it. I think it's been. I can't believe that I got so wrapped up into it. No, like I said, yes, the odd little sprinkle here and there to make it interesting. But I was right into it, and I was like, I'm all on this Canada thing. And you're a 10 out of 10 patriotic Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
I hover more in that. I would probably be more in that 6.5 to 7. I can admit it. I fully admit. But I was like, come on. And we're so good in that game. And then we just kind of ran out of steam, and things don't go our way at the end. But just the World Cup in general, I'm like, I can't believe how wrapped up I am into soccer. But then, taking myself out of it, I'm like, this is how people feel about hockey a lot of times when it's the Four Nations or the Olympics, and they get wrapped up in the sport that they have no idea about. Curling. Like some countries will get wrapped up into curling and they don't know the first thing about curling like we do here. We're so hardcore. So I was all in, yeah. And these watch parties, it made me, my wife and I were talking about this because she played soccer and she likes the game. We were talking about, it would have kind of been cool now. Like we should have maybe planned to go or maybe drive there and just take it in. And it was off the charts. Canada did a great job. I thought the U.S., like the facilities that they were in the U.S., even in Canada and then Mexico, like top-notch facilities. And I think I heard this somewhere else where it's like you think about the U.S. hosting something like that, it's like because they have the infrastructure. They don't got to build a bunch of, and then it's, weeds collecting dust after. Where, you put the Olympics in a lot. You see some of the pictures of Sochi, I think it is, where they build everything for the Olympics, and now it looks like Chernobyl.
Yeah, well, there is legacy left here in Vancouver from the Olympics. I know even the drive from Vancouver to Whistler was completely fixed just for the Olympics, but that's legacy that goes on for a long time. I think to maybe bring perspective, if we were in the Olympics in hockey and Canada was eliminated early and the U.S. was playing Sweden, would we cheer for the U.S.? Would Canadians cheer for the U.S. at that time?
I think a lot of people are entrenched in no way, Jose, I'm not cheering. I would be. I'd be like, yeah, and I love Sweden. I thought Stockholm was the most beautiful city I've ever been to in my life. But no, I'd cheer for the U.S. before Sweden. That's just me. That's just me. And we have a great football game. We know that, and they love watching it and all that. Let's get into our league and the last week. Talking to Arash also earlier and Rob Vanstone. The Bo Levi Mitchell, you hate to see it. I have no doubt, not that I know the guy or have, know the ankle injury he had. No doubt that at 36, he's going to be back. He'll be back slinging it. Maybe it's not this year. It really sucks for the league, though, Glenn, to see him go down. And in the same game, Zach Collaros goes down, and then you just watch no offense to the other guys, you just watch the productivity dip.
Oh yeah. I mean, what a glaring example of all the talk that we've had about scoring being through the roof and so high. And the number one reason for that, as we've talked about, has been the play of the quarterback position. And to lose two of the top guys, the two veterans, is that hurts. And Taylor Elgersma and Trey Ford didn't play well. They look like rookies, and and in the case of Trey Ford, he's had some starter experience, so it was a little more disappointing, when he just barely did anything. When Zach,
I was surprised. I'll use the word surprised.
Yeah, so was I. I mean, and again, I hope he's not trying to be stubborn and prove something to people that he's a pocket passer. That's not his superpower. He can do it. He's done it before, but it's not his superpower. His great characteristic, physical characteristic, is his ability to run and just make people miss and create off-schedule plays. That's his superpower, and he didn't really do it. And a couple of times, but he didn't really do it. He needed to take full advantage of this opportunity, a second chance. Elgersma, again, looked very young, looked like he was unsure. I'm not sure if the play calling got conservative. I heard that clip from Coach O'Shea when you guys ran that earlier, and I just went, oh, come on, you got to be better than that. Anyway, but when both Zach and Bo left the game, the score, I believe at that time, was like 13-11 for Hamilton, and it ended 14-13 with a field goal for Winnipeg. And so the backup quarterbacks with a whole half to play did not score a point except for that last field goal. And Elgersma didn't throw the ball in the last drive to set up the field goal. They gave it to Brady Oliveira 4 or 5 times. So, it does illustrate the difference in the entertainment value of the game when the quarterbacks are playing great. And the reason scoring was up and it was back and forth and so exciting for the first 3-4 weeks of the season has been because of the play of the quarterback. Look at VA in Calgary.
Yeah.
I mean, he threw a touchdown pass with his left hand.
Yeah.
The guy was on fire, and it was unbelievable to watch. It was super entertaining. So, yeah, that's a big one.
I don't know how I want to phrase this question because I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
But that Kelowna experience, what if you could change one thing, make one thing maybe a little bit better from all of it? What would it be? Because it looked like it was knocked out of the park. But I want to say if you could change one thing.
If I could change one thing, I would add full-on wine tasting during the game for the broadcast crew would be the one rule that I would implement. And you know, every winery in that region could come with a representation, you know, a bottle, and you could just do a little sip. You know how you do the wine tasting and all of those things. Outstanding, you know, what a great experience. The fandom was off the hook. I mean, you've been to Kelowna. It's a beautiful spot to just go and visit, but fans were, and there were jerseys from everywhere across the country. There were Bomber jerseys and Ticat jerseys and everything. So if I could change something and add something, I think there was some issues with the sound system that they couldn't hear some of the penalties and things like that. They needed to improve that. The field was immaculate and looked great on television. The crowd looked great on television.
Correct.
So, you know, and I think it was important for the Lions. And here's why. Not just because, you know, they stayed in the province and brought the game to a new group of people. I had a lot of conversations with kids in between the two games during the week. You know, run into them in a mall and they had a jersey on. So I'd just sit and ask them.
I thought you were going to say at a winery. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Mom and dad are there and they're no. So I asked them and they were all like, this was my first ever game. And oh, is that ever cool? And, you know, they were just raving about it. And that's a huge benefit. But more importantly, I think not more importantly, but important for the team, for the Lions, was they got a chance to stay together and get to know each other. Mm-hmm. So this 0-3 team had a chance to spend a whole week of barbecues and finding out about each other's families. And I've said many, many times on the air and on this show that is the difference between winning teams and losing teams at the top. So the professional level, the difference is not talent. The difference, because everyone has talent, the difference is how tight are you? How much do you want to fight for the guy beside you in the locker room? How that locker room culture has come together, and to do it for a week and hang out with each other and, you know, find out about each other's families and things like that. It's harder to surrender in the middle of a game when you really care about the guy beside you. And so I think that really helped the Lions. I don't know how they're going to take it from here, but they got their first win against an unbeaten team. And I think that was a big reason for it.
That's what I want to ask. But on TV, it looked great. The aerial views, everything they did, maybe minus a quick trip to Crazy Kylie's to grab a new sound system. It sounds like it was a success. But that game, BC needed a win. But I think Edmonton needed a win there just as bad, Glenn, to prove that they're maybe one of the top teams.
Yeah, you know, I think the one thing that Edmonton's probably walking away now thinking is, did someone just figure out the formula to control our offense? And what I mean by that is Justin Rankin and how the Lions corralled him, especially in the first half. And it starts to take Jordan Maximic, their play caller, and maybe it takes him out of their formula. And he starts saying, okay, I'm not going to hit my head against that brick wall any longer. they've got a game plan for him. So we're going to go to the air, and Cody can do that, Cody Fajardo. But the Lions won that game, so they've sort of they've laid out a little bit of a blueprint for other teams to look at. If you can control Rankin, you've got a chance to, and your offense gets going, you've got a chance to beat that team. So, at 3-1, that's a good start for a really for a team in Edmonton that has had 3 or 4 or 5 bad years. Let's be honest.
They need people in the stands there. So let's hope that happens. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I know we're running even a little bit late here, which is great though. We haven't even talked about the Riders in Ottawa. What's your debrief on that game? Ugly win, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're coaching or playing, and a lot of people that are listening have played sports and all that. A lot of times a win's a win. Like, you're taking that win and running. But what's your debrief on that game?
I don't think it was ugly at all. I think it was a different way that they won, different than other games that they won earlier. When your quarterback throws and it wasn't Trevor's fault, it was a hit that all bounced in the air and early interception, and they had to overcome that. They had to overcome some special team, mishaps, and then the special teams came up and contributed. So they won in a different way. And when you get a punt return for a touchdown, and or you're in a close game, those are really tough games too, mentally. Honestly, the better team in games like that, where you're playing against a team that hasn't won yet, I don't care what guys say, that they're not thinking about the records, that it's 0-0, all those things, all the cliches you hear all the time. It's a mental battle to not think you can just show up and win. And so all of a sudden it gets close in the game, and you start pressing a little bit, thinking, hey, we should be beating this team, and we're not. And that's when things can go right off the rails. But they didn't do that. So, I think they fought through that mental fight that you're in when you play a team that hasn't won. And a couple of things, I think AJ Ouellette has been missed, and that's no disrespect to Connolly or any other tailback in the organization. It's just, I think AJ Ouellette is an important factor, and he's missed in more than just running the ball. I think Jackson Ford is playing outstanding. I'm going to take a hard look at that, because I have the Rider game this weekend, and I want to go back and sort of study it and look at a lot of different positions. But I just feel like Jackson Ford is playing great. Here's his third down stop, which was huge. Yeah. It was a 5-point game at that point. He comes off the edge, and he's getting his nose dirty in a lot of plays. And and I think the difference for Jackson this year as opposed to years gone by, where he's had some opportunity to start at safety, I think back then he was young and trying to make plays happen. And at safety, you have to let the game come to you. And he's doing that now. He's stepping up when it's available and making those plays, but he's allowing them to come to him rather than go out and try to find a big play to make. Because that's when you get in trouble. You get out of your position and you're letting some of your teammates down, and then you're leaving guys in one-on-ones when you should be helping them. And all of those things can fall apart quickly. So I think there's just a different level of maybe maturity. I'm not sure. I don't know. He would be able to answer that, but he's playing great.
Defend Ryan Dinwiddie as a coach. We had him on the show last year. I've always respected him. It seems like a gamer. Like, he's got that dog in him. But I know he's taking some heat here and there. How could you defend him as a coach?
Well, I think he's got to decide on, is Jake Mayer his guy? I mean, when he was in Toronto and he had Chad Kelly, we know what physically Chad Kelly can be. So now, as a head coach, your only goal probably with him is just to keep him on the rails with everything else. But physically, he's a big arm, tremendous arm talent, and a former MOP. So that changes the dynamic between coach and player. I mean, right now, Corey Mace has Trevor Harris. I mean, that's a great setup for both of those guys to just continue to grow and lead together. Now Dinwiddie's in there trying to evaluate a team, evaluate his quarterbacks. Decided early Drew Brown was not the guy. That disrupts your entire. When Drew Brown coming into training camp is supposed to be your starting quarterback, and then Dinwiddie actually gets there, and something about Drew's game he didn't like, and now he's got to change gears. And I'm not sure if Jake Mayer is his answer, but he was the guy that was available at the time. And now he's got McLeod Bethel-Thompson in there. And, you know, will he be playing? I'm not blaming Jake for everything here. I'm just talking about that relationship. I think they're tied at the hip. They especially in our league, the head coach and quarterback, they kind of they better be in sync together, really, or else it just doesn't work. And I think that's Dinwiddie's thing in Ottawa.
So you said you're doing the game Sunday in Regina. Yes. Are you coming in? You must be coming in the day before. Are you going to take in some country western music at Country Thunder out in the Craven Valley? Although Saturday night, it's rock and roll with 90s and early 2000s rock band Creed.
Ooh. You're
a music guy. Hey, you and I, we're music guys. I know you want to get out there. Maybe sing some Scott Staff or whatever his name is.
Yeah, well, I do the Bomber game first on Friday night, and then I'm traveling Saturday to Regina. So, yeah, I'll just be doing my notes. But I do love Craven. I've been out there. I met Tim. Well, this sounds name dropping, but I met Tim McGraw out there, and heard his football story. You know, he was a football player in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim. Tight shirt, good fit. He's probably working out. Yeah, I know he.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He gets us swole on before he goes onto the stage. Well, if you change your mind, shoot me a text. I don't know what time I'll be going out Saturday, but if you want to go and tap your toes, we get to talk Thursday again. You got a few days to think about it. And Thursday, I want to get into. I want to ask you about the Toronto Argonauts travel schedule, because I know the schedule was released a long time ago and people were talking about it. But now that I really watch where they have to go and what they have to, I'm just like, so I want to talk about that on Thursday.
Their home games on the road. Yeah, we also have to. We keep forgetting, and it's my fault, to get to a Joe in Calgary.
Okay.
But let's do that
First
on
thing
Thursday.
On Thursday. That's a tease. That's what we're doing here.
There you go.
A tease. All right. Thanks.
All right,
Glenn.
Barney. Take care, man.
USA. Okay. For Freeze, Tom and Lumber, press coverage of the Glen Suitor.